And welcome everybody. We are live. So pleased to see you today. My name is Natalie. I'm the founder of HumanForce, and I'm absolutely passionate about emotions in the workplace, as you will soon find out. And I'm really happy to have a chat to you today about whether or not emotions belong in the workplace. Please do feel free to put your comments in the chat. Tell us where you are, where you're listening from. We'd love to know who you are and where you're from. That would be great. Let me just pass over to Hajar. Hey, Hajar, do you want to say hello?
Hi, Natalie. Thanks for inviting me. Hi, everyone, and happy to be here and to share my thought about this important topic. So,
Hajar, do you want to just tell everybody what you do?
Yes, sure. So I'm Hajar Haddaoui. I'm actually a senior director at Entity. Working with an amazing team covering Switzerland and our client globally also. So headquartered in Switzerland. I'm a mother of a 12 years old daughter and had more than 80 years experience in the IT, driving in different global, but also in Switzerland. Teams from in the IT field, sales, marketing, but also customer experience.
Great. Thanks, Hajar. Wow. Elliot, briefly to you, just for I'm sure lots of people know you already, but just give us a quick background.
Hi, everyone. On LinkedIn. Nice to see you this afternoon. I'm in the UK, just north of London in Watford. And for those that don't know me, so I do a couple of things. Half of my time is spent running my organization, MusicFootballFatherhood, which is all about creating safe spaces and open conversations for men and dads to talk about life, fatherhood mostly, but also all of the ups and downs that come with life as well. And the other half of my time is spent bringing that conversation into the workplace. So I work with lots of organizations, creating safe spaces for men, looking at the importance of supporting working dads, looking at how we can improve male mental health. And, me and Natalie connected because emotions are at the heart of what I do and what Natalie does, and thinking about how I manage my own emotions in my work, but also bringing out the emotion in others is a key part of the work that I do as well.
Yeah, and very important work that is, Elliot. And I connected with Hajar and Elliot. So lucky because they have both been contributors to my book, which is coming out soon, on emotions at work. So that's why we originally met, and I'm delighted to have their insights today. And something I talk about in the book at the beginning is that there's been a lot of research into whether we feel free to show our emotions at work. A crazy survey just before the pandemic said that 1 in 3 people do not feel that they can actually bring their true emotions to work. And 30% of managers still believe that some emotions show weakness at work. So I did a poll just a week ago on LinkedIn as well, and 80% of people said yes, they thought emotions belong at work, but the other 20% not that sure. So I'm always baffled by that. I mean, what do you think, guys? I mean, for me, it seems to be almost a no-brainer that emotions are important. We're human beings. We can't just check our emotions in at the door when we come to work. They're a fundamental part of who we are. What do you think, Hajar?
Yeah, I think it's an important question. And I think this idea, which was widespread in the life of company until the recent decade, has now taken a different turn. It has even become a major topic of discussion in the sphere of human resources, but not only, also in the management, in the leadership, and sharing also some important report, The Future of Job, the WEF, identified 10 essential skills for leader, and emotional intelligence was at the 6th position, just after team spirit and before decision making. So I think it's crucial to have. It's a no-brainer, as you mentioned it. It's a fundamental skills for managers and leaders, but it's also a part of everything we are doing, because the business is people, is client. The employees are people, and if you are not able to drive this emotion, to be able to create also this safe space to have these emotions, I think the outcome will have a negative impact directly on the business, but also on the people living, on the fluctuation, etc., and retaining also talent. It has a different impact that we can talk about it during this session. But yeah, for me, it's no-brainer. It's fundamental skills, and it's one of the most important one that we can drive productivity, performance, business, but also create a safe space and a safe culture where people can, enjoy and have a really a +8 hours per day together and have the great team spirit and make great decisions.
Absolutely. Thanks, Hajar. Thank you so much for that. Guys, we seem to have a technical issue. I don't know, Elliot, if I can use your experience here, but people can hear us. They can hear us, but they can't see us. I can see you, Hajar and Elliot. What on earth is going on here? Any ideas?
So I'm thinking it might be the option where you can select the view. So just underneath the screen in StreamYard, there should be a few options of what people see.
Yeah.
And maybe try clicking one of those. It might work.
I've got mute, stop cam, settings.
Above those, is there options?
No, I don't have that.
Oh, that's strange.
I don't have that at all. So people can hear, but they can't see me, which is kind of a bit strange. I don't know what we'll do. We'll just carry on, guys. Huh? Hopefully, if you can hear us, I know you can't. There's somebody saying remove your book launch page, maybe.
Yeah, potentially.
How do I get rid of that? How do I get rid of that, maybe?
So people can hear us.
If they can hear us, they can hear us. I don't know what to do there. I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. Oh, no, that's not right. No. I have no idea, guys. Anyway, let's carry on with this. Let's carry on. Hopefully you can hear us and you can enjoy our conversation. So, Hajar, thank you so much for that. Elliot, it's true, isn't it, that emotions for a long time have not been welcome at work? Do you think the situation's changing now?
Yeah.
I think it has changed. Yeah. I think about life pre-COVID at work, and it was very, very different. And I'm really interested in the concept of change and how much we realize and notice around change. And I've been reading up a little bit about the human brain and how it works, that some things in our life will change, but slowly, and we won't necessarily notice it all, until someone maybe points out the start and where we are now. And when I think about before COVID, just the interactions that I would have in work, and when it comes to emotions, how emotional people would be and how much we would talk about emotions, it was completely different to now. I remember one of the major life things that's happened in the last few years, in addition to COVID, is the murder of George Floyd. And I think that was a massive part of people bringing their whole emotions to work. I remember a couple of days after George Floyd was murdered, and I was actually the head of race equality in DEFRA at the time, so the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. And when George Floyd was first murdered, I didn't know that it was going to have such an impact on work, so I wasn't really prepared for it to change my whole working life. But I came into work one day, and we needed to quickly do something. We needed to talk to people about what was going on, because we could see that a lot of people were very upset, and there was lots of conversations going on. So the next day, we had a all staff call, and there were thousands of people on the call. And I remember our perm sec opened the call and said a few words, and said, Elliot, take over. You're gonna chair this meeting and explain to people what's happened. And I remember going on the call and just kind of saying my bit for a few minutes, trying to contextualize what had happened for everyone, and then opening the floor. And the first person that came on was a lady who came on, and she spoke, and halfway through speaking, she choked up and started crying. And I remember thinking how powerful that was, because I don't remember, and I can't recall at any time in my career having a call with thousands of people, the whole organization, and someone, so openly crying and expressing that emotion. And she wasn't the only one. Over the next couple of months, that was a regular occurrence, and I think that really did change something about a lot of us, COVID and the murder of George Floyd, and has made emotions at work, as Hajar said, like one of the key components of good leadership now, and something that every organization needs to encourage their people to bring to work.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I think also that, for example, I mean, it's interesting you talk about the George Floyd issue. There are a lot of things recently that have made it, I think, a change. I mean, one of the few good things to come out of the pandemic, if anything, was a realization that actually emotions are a part of human beings and that they do roll over into the workplace. You know, during the pandemic, managers were supporting their teams, they were navigating the emotions that their teams had. And so it almost brought this into the forefront. So, you know, for me, that was kind of a positive outcome, if you like, for the subject of emotions in the workplace. From your own personal experiences, I'd be really interested to hear. Hajar, for example, you've got a very senior role in a company as a leader. How do you work with your emotions? Because I believe, and I talk about this a lot, that they can be a really big asset to leadership. Can you give me examples of that, how that's been for you?
Yeah, I think, you know, for me, you know, there is the hard skills where every leader needs to have knowledge about the industry, knowledge about the financial part, the technology, if you are in the technology field. But I think what is crucial is really to have this emotional intelligence. Soft skills are, for me, key and make a huge difference in how you drive a team, how you work together, how you collaborate. From my personal experience, I think emotions for me are two main parts. The first one is, you know, that you know your personal emotion, how to manage them, how to explore also yourself. Sense making is important, and reflecting and self-awareness. And there is the other part where this social emotion, when you have this emotional intelligence to also connect with the people, connect with your team, and those are both for me crucial and important. And driving this in the reality with an easy way is just, you know, be yourself, be aware of what you want to set as a goal and what you want to have as a result with your team, but also how you want to impact people, how you want to impact the business. And, you know, it was for me a change maker when I started not understanding the business, but understanding the people.
Listening. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
There you can find out how you can bring the best of the people when you are connected to them. And connected to the idea, creating a culture where there is this give and grow. You know, we grow together, we give to each other. And this leads you to drive your strategies successfully, your mission together, lead you to really know where to play together, how you want to win, and also to get the best of people. And, you know, perhaps some advice, just, you know, check in the meeting is really important. Check in, how are you? How was your weekend? How was your daughter? I have in my agenda not just only the business meeting, but I do have also the birthday of my people. When they have, for example, unfortunately, something with their children in the hospital or a surgery, then you need to check in with them and know how they are doing. And I think COVID was a change or a game changer, because it connected more people together, but it gives you also understand why the people are frustrated, why they are afraid, why they can't go to work, etc. And keep, you know, asking, understanding, and keep connected to them, even though if they are not physically there. And for me, it's key for leadership. And it gives you clearly a high performance, but also it's established the right culture to drive a success in your business.
Yeah. God, Hajar, I wish that all the leaders that I came across were like you. I really do. And I love your points about checking in.
Right. If I may, that the people can see us, because there is a lot of chat around. They can't see us.
I know, guys. I know you can't see us, and that's your loss, guys, because we're looking really smart today. We're looking brilliant, actually. You're just going to have to imagine how we look. I'm really sorry, but I hope that the quality of the conversation is enough to keep you engaged. And maybe on the playback, who knows, you'll be able to see us. This is technology, and I'm trying my best, but I cannot see how. And everybody's giving me advice, but let's just move on. Let's move on, and let us just build on what Hajar is saying. Hajar, you've given some fabulous tips here about checking in. And in the book, in the book that's coming out soon, you talk about these taking the time to actually get to know your people, to have their birthdays in their agenda. I love that you're really, it's really caring for your people and seeing them as human beings, which I think is so essential. Oh, here we go, guys.
Yeah.
Here we go. Yay!
Hey.
See, I told you we were looking smart. Thank you so much. So
Emotions are important.
Big reveal.
We're real, guys.
Absolutely.
So Hajar, thank you for that. Great tips, and there are so many tips that we could talk about. And I also like the fact, Hajar, that you talked about the self-awareness, to be aware of your own emotions, and that's essential, and also to be aware of the impact that you as a leader have on other people in the organization. There's so much around this topic. You could really expand on it. So Hajar, thanks for that. Elliot, what about you in your work? How do you leverage the emotions, or how do you think people can leverage their emotions as a powerful asset?
Yeah, so I think my personal growth has coincided with how I have leveraged emotions in work. And I was thinking back when we were talking about this session in regards to my own journey, and I remember when I was a young man in my mid-20s, and I was at work, and I was managing someone who was a couple of years younger than me, and she came in one day. I knew she'd been going to the hospital, and she came in and she told me that she'd been diagnosed with cancer.
Oh wow! And
we went downstairs into the kitchen area, and she was crying, and we were talking. And I remember at that moment just trying to be a friend, I guess, just trying to listen to her and be as supportive as I could. But underneath, I knew I felt like I wasn't ready or prepared, and felt quite inadequate in terms of my position as a manager and a leader in that moment.
Yeah.
And I look back, and I'm obviously, she's okay now, which is important to say. But I always think that it was a good experience for me, because there are moments in your life where people will bring things to you that you don't understand or you haven't experienced. And as a manager in the workplace, or a leader, or just as a colleague and a human being, being able to, as best as you can, hold space for that person is very, very important. And so that happened to me in 2013. Fast forward 4 years ago, 4 years after, and it was actually me in that position after my story around my daughter's birth was very difficult, and she was quite ill when she was born. I was diagnosed with PTSD, and I was in that position where I was coming to work, but I wasn't actually expressing how I was feeling around my emotions. I was hiding my emotions, and even though people could sense a change in me, in my personality, I wasn't being honest. I wasn't visibly showing, consciously anyway, visibly showing how I was really feeling. And that was another learning curve for me, in terms of the support I got after really encouraged me to be more open with my emotions. And then a few years later, having another health scare and talking to a manager that I knew really, really well, and who was an amazing leader, where I did finally eventually feel more comfortable to be open with her. And I think one of the reasons was not only my own kind of personal growth. I was a bit older, I'd experienced life, I had counseling, all those sorts of things, but also working for a leader who was so emotionally intelligent. As Hajar was saying, she got to know me and my team on a very personal level. We had a connection that was deeper than just the work. And when I think about all my jobs where I've stayed for a long time, the ones where you plan to stay for a couple of years and then 5 years later you're still there, they've always been because of the leaders. They have very rarely been because of the quality of the work or the opportunity. It's always been because of the leaders, the managers, and the colleagues, and the culture there, and the people who allow yourself to be yourself at work. And so I think when it comes to retention, when it comes to keeping good people, and then when we're adding on the performance and the well-being aspect of things, being emotionally intelligent for yourself, but also knowing how to get on and relate to other people, is a fundamental leadership skill. It's absolutely important.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you raised that issue about retention and attraction of talent and all the challenges that people have, all the challenges that companies have to retain and attract their talent, to engage their people, to motivate them. It's just indispensable. And thanks for mentioning the word holding the space, because I think if a manager knows how to hold the space, and it's not an easy thing to do, and can feel comfortable holding that space and be present to whatever emotion arises, then I think they've got a fantastic skill. And I'm not sure that many managers would say that they know how to do that or feel comfortable doing that, but it's certainly, you can certainly learn how to do it. Would you agree?
Sure.
Yeah.
Really, such a hard skills is something really that you can leverage, learn, and adapt. And more you are aware of yourself, more you do also leverage this social, emotional intelligence with the others.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know that the title of today we said was "Do emotions belong at the workplace?" So I think from talking, you know, we're kind of establishing that yes, they do, and that they're valuable for leadership, they're valuable for organizations, and they come into so many different parts of what we do at work. When we talk about decision making, when we talk about innovating, when we talk about learning, when we talk about so many things that we do at work, we don't just do it with our head, we do it with our emotions as well. And sometimes those emotions can be really essential in making a difference, don't you think? I think we forget sometimes that whole thing that we do at work.
Yeah, and I think that important point around, you know, can you learn this stuff?
Yeah,
I think we all have a natural ability in different you know, in types of intellect, and I think emotional intelligence is something that, you know, naturally some of us will be more skilled in naturally, but I think we definitely can learn. Sometimes life teaches us the hard way, unfortunately, through personal experiences. But I would like to think that now we are in a place where, because we understand the power, and also we understand the expectation as well. I was looking at some research the other day. Younger people are expecting their leaders to be compassionate and empathetic way more than the older generation. So I think now knowing that it's an essential skill for being a human being, but especially in the workplace, I would like to think that leaders will invest in their ability to build relationships and connections. And I think it can be uncomfortable work. You know, this work we're talking about here it's not easy. It means sometimes you have to be in a position where you don't know the answer, you know, where you don't feel comfortable, and where sometimes you may be in a position of authority normally as a leader, but you have to adopt another position where you're actually learning and listening and understanding which different interactions require you to be a different version of yourself in that moment. So I think it is about investing in yourself, you know, and understanding you can learn these skills, and we need to.
Yeah, you can. That's the good news. You can, Elliot, and that is the good news. Hajar, I see you're nodding there. You agree. It's true. Some people are you know, have a little bit more ability than others, but it's definitely a skill that you can learn. There's no doubt about that. And I really like, you know, sorry, Hajar, go on.
And you can improve also.
You can improve, definitely. And I like the fact that you talk about that uncomfortable stuff, because there's a lot of uncomfortable stuff that, for example, as managers or team leaders, we have to do. Sometimes we have to give difficult feedback. Sometimes we have to help somebody who's stressed, maybe have a conversation with somebody who's not doing too well at work. Sometimes there might be a conflict that happens in a team. I mean, conflicts is kind of a normal part of work life. And all of those things, they involve emotions. And how well we handle that and how well we do that is down to our emotional intelligence. You know, and I think that it's so important that we're not afraid of it, but that we feel comfortable with it and we get comfortable with it. If that makes sense.
That's a very good point. Afraid of it. I think most of the leaders that are not yet, or I will not call them leaders, I will call them most of the managers, not showing their emotion or using emotional intelligence or working on these fundamental skills. I think the first thing they need to start with is themselves, because you don't feel confident enough that you want to put yourself in this box of manager. without showing your emotion to the others, because it may put you in an uncomfortable situation, or people can judge you differently, etc., etc. So it's a matter also of trusting yourself. It's confidence, is being afraid to show your emotion, and that's crucial for to improve that.
And that kind of makes me also think, Hajar, your comment makes me think a little bit about, and I talk about this in the book, about the difference between what we call the positive and what we call the negative emotions. And I don't like to call them negative, because I think all emotions are valuable. Those strong emotions of anger, of fear, of sadness,